go ahead and call the meeting to order. Before we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, we have two students that are going to help us out tonight. I want to introduce them. We have Laurencio Flores, who's a first grade student in Mrs. Gabriel's class at Otis. And then we also have his sister, Giselle Pollard, who is a third grade student in Mrs. Hensel's class at Otis. They're both the children of Latea Domansky. So if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Giselle will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Coming in.
She closes her eyes, you can't see her. Oh my gosh. He's like, oh.
Thank you.
Let me get this back a little bit. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom. Here. Miss Lehman.
Here.
Ms. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Nally.
Here.
Mr. Price.
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting held on September 8th, 2025, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lewis. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom.
Yes.
Ms. Lehman.
Yes.
Mr. Nally.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved. Moving on to legislative report tonight, Don.
Just wanted to mention a couple quick things. One, the governor's property tax work group is continuing. They're supposed to come up with some recommendations and results by the end of this month. So hopefully at our October meeting, we'll be able to kind of hear what some of those recommendations are. Again, it goes back to the legislature, whether they pick up on any of those or are encouraged to. We'll have to wait and see. The other thing that, and this is kind of roundabout affects the legislative, just because of the vouchers and kind of where dollars are going. And I was looking at the equity and adequacy, how they, in their most recent newsletter that they sent out, and I was sending to all of you a report, and then I realized that you are getting the equity and adequacy email, and if you're not, I can help you get signed up for that. And then the fax and the flash you're also receiving. So but on the equity and adequacy, I thought it was interesting to see, and I'm still doing a little research to kind of come up with what our school district, our area's actual median income is. And depending on what you put into Google, depending on what, there's too much of a fluctuation for me to state that right now. But it was interesting to look at that, and it showed with those communities with a 5-star rating in the most recent school report card showed that their median income in their community was about $64,000. And then if you kind of work your way down to the 2 stars, that median income is $33,000. And it just shows that one of the issues in our community really tie how our schools perform are tied to the income of that family, and are greatly affected by that. And one of the other things that they mentioned in there were with over the next 2 years, a record $1.7 billion will be going to private schools versus our public schools, and which would be shortchanging our public schools by, about $700 and some thousand dollars a year, $700 and some $million per year. And they show where the Cleveland school system would be shortchanged by $157 million. Columbus is being shortchanged by $48 million, and Cincinnati by 50. The fortunate thing with all that, in the long term, I think those kind of things can affect us as a community. Fortunately, according to our treasurer and from the information that we receive in our financial reports, we as a school system are doing well, and having not had to go for additional levies, and we built our schools, that affects our community in terms of paying into that, and we're very limited on how many times we've gone for anything other than the renewal of our 5-year income tax levy. We aren't a community that's been asking for more, every election cycle. And I think some communities are in that groove, and, and those things can be positively affected by making sure that all the dollars that should be going to our public schools are going to our public schools. And I wish the best for all of our private schools out there, but there's a constitutional issue there too, and hopefully those things get corrected in the near future. That's all I had.
All right. Thanks, sir. No walk-on items tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. If anyone would like to address the board, they can come on up to the podium. So, okay. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Price, board members, Ms. Parkhurst. Welcome to Monday evening, everyone. First thing I would like to point out, if you have not yet noticed, is we have a beautiful banner here in the front. If you remember, at our last meeting, Mr. Nally, I think, challenged us to make sure that we were communicating our new mission and our vision statements and making sure that we were sharing with our community. And so we added the banner. Hopefully everyone at home is able to view that. That's a nice new piece. We also changed on our board agenda the cover. And so that item, for anyone that then looks at our agenda online, or downloads that and takes a look at that, they will have that continual reminder as well. And I think point well taken in the sense that we worked really hard to come up with some really specific language and put effort into comprising those statements. If we're going to live by them for the next couple of years, I think it is important to make sure that we are taking opportunity to get those in front of our stakeholders. So this is one way that we're going to attempt to do that. So
Great.
Thank you. That was a nice addition, I think. The other idea that I just wanted to just repoint out is the second board meeting of every month. We will continue as a work session, an opportunity that within public session, we will have an opportunity to share some conversation, some dialogue, and I will always try to bring something, a piece of the district to our board as well as to all of our stakeholders in our community, and have an opportunity to share. So that today is our second board meetings, first work session of the school year. So with that, to this evening, I have Mrs. Abby Abernathy, who is our assistant superintendent, to join us this evening. And hot off the presses, a week ago, the state of Ohio released our district report cards to all public school districts across the state. So we have been chewing through that data in the district office. I know that our buildings as well have been starting to look at some of that data. And we mentioned it last Thursday. We had our district leadership team meeting. We had our wide committee that represents the district, from students to staff to administration to board member. So it's very, very nice to have that very vertical and horizontal team that meets a lot of needs in the district. They got to hear a little piece of our report card. So I've asked Mrs. Abernathy to be with us this evening, and she's going to share report card information with you all. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Get my slideshow going so I don't forget about it here. So the first page of our report is going to give us our overall rating. So it's a 5-star rating system, and we scored 3.5 this year. We were up from 3 last year. These 6 areas make up the basis of the report card, and I'll go over how that's divided up percentage-wise in a little bit, but you'll see exactly where our stars are. Each of these areas, again, are a 5-star rating. We have 3 to 4 stars in all, with the exception of early literacy, and I'll go over that information when I get there. So overall, we were up 0.5. I think that just goes to show how hard the staff, all of our staff members, are working in our buildings, that this is a direct reflection on them. So then they break it up by buildings as well, and in the overall ratings, and then again in all those areas. Obviously, like graduation rate, that's only measured for high school, and then there's some that are only measured for elementary. Just some miscellaneous data: our total enrollment, chronic absenteeism, our graduation rate. One thing I wanted to point out is our teachers, 95% attendance rate. That's pretty awesome. And our average years of experience is 16. So I think that is worth celebrating as well. Okay, so of these 6 areas, each makes up a certain percentage of the grade card. So you'll see the top 2, achievement and progress, that I'm going to go over more in depth here in a moment. That makes up for half of our grade card. Then we have gap closing, which is where our students are starting off and where they're ending for the year. Early literacy, graduation, and then college, career, workforce, military readiness. That's a mouthful as well. So achievement just evaluates how well students perform on state tests. And you'll see here, I'm just going to go over maybe like 2 different grades here. I've got all the grades on the slideshow, and I've shared it. If anyone at home has any questions or they want to talk through, please, I encourage them to call or email me. We'll get something set up for that. But if you look at our 3rd grade achievement, we are the blue column compared to green, which is districts that are comparable to us, and then that gray is the Ohio State average. So you'll see exactly where we're at. You're also going to see how many math is on the left, our left, and English is on our right. You'll see how many students were tested, how many were proficient, and then what that percentage was. The 3rd grade English language arts, that's a combination percentage of the entire school year. They take that test twice. Mathematics, they only take once. So you'll see how we're rating as far as our 3rd grade testers. Any questions? I'm going to go ahead and just skip up to, I'm going to go to 8th grade because I want to point something out here. So you'll see again, we're blue, comparable districts are green, and then the state is that gray. And then you're going to look to the right and you're going to see high school algebra 1, and you're going to think, this is 8th grade. Our gifted students are grade accelerated. So that means they would take, if their 8th grade math is going to be algebra 1, so they take the high school test. So I'm just showing you exactly how deep that this data is divided up, so we can kind of take a look at exactly who is taking what test and how they're performing. It's not an overall generic of all 8th grade math, all 8th grade ELA. So you'll see that across the board there. 8th grade ELA, 8th grade math, 8th grade science, but then that gifted group then takes that high school algebra 1. And you'll see how many students were taking the test, how many were proficient. Any questions on that? I just wanted to point out too, in this area, as well as our 3rd grade, again, that blue column, that is how our students are performing. So we're performing above where we're projected to be performing, which I think is a huge celebration. Obviously, that is a baseline. We want to keep growing from that. But I think that's really important to notice too, that our students, when it comes to the state average in those comparable districts to ours, we are outperforming them. In not all of our grade levels, but the majority of them. Any questions?
Yeah.
Not yet. Okay. All right. Just interrupt me. How does that sound? All right. Then you're going to get into high school, and we're going to see this. This is a lot of information on one slide. So you'll see some of the similar information that I broke up for 8th grade and then 3rd grade again. And you'll see again the tests that are broken up depending on how many kids are taking them and in what level they are at. So you'll see some higher scores. You're going to see some lower scores. I've already talked with a few of the principals, and they're already starting to plan what they're going to be doing different. That geometry score always kind of gets us. We were talking in DLT the other day. We've looked at what's on the test and what part of the school year do we teach it, and then we'll try to kind of get geared up for that, and then they flip-flop it on us. And some of those skills maybe that are maybe hit up at the beginning of the school year that are on the test compared to like right before the test. So we've looked at our curriculum management and our pacing guides and stuff, and that's one area that we're continuing to grow. That's also a test that the students don't technically have to show competency in to graduate. And sometimes when that word gets out, there's a little less thought of, trying to outperform. There are some incentives at the high school that they're doing to help our kids see the importance of our tests and scoring the scores that we know that they're capable of. Okay. The next area is progress. So what this is this is kind of hefty here. We do value added. So we're going to be looking at how our kids are performing year to year. And they are showing the growth that we would determine, or it is determined that they should be showing year to year. So you can look at here some of our test scores. You're kind of looking, you kind of want that, I call it the ugly green. I'm not sure what other color to call it. Then the blue, and then the really dark gray. Those are the areas that you're really looking for our student progress. So you're looking for that growth, and it's showing significant evidence that our kids are growing. The colors that are, the red and that yellowish color, those are showing that our kids are performing a little bit lower in those areas. But again, we're working on that as far as instructional strategies. Gap closing. So this is one area we talked pretty in length about at DLT on Thursday, and then I went back in the afternoon and educated myself on some more of this. This is my first full year going through this, and so there's a lot of information on this. So if you look at the left side of the graph there, it's our English language arts achievement by our subgroup. And if you see those orange circles, that's the goal. So if our lines, like let's look at that green line right in the middle. So those students are outperforming where the state had anticipated that our kids would perform. So we have more students showing that gap closure. And then that's for English language arts. On the right is our math. And again, that circle, that orangish color circle, is where the state says that they think that each subgroup should be. And you'll see the majority of our graphs again are going past that. Or getting pretty close to achieving that. Any questions or comments on that? I guess I know this is a lot of information. And then again, here's our gap closure. English language arts on the right, on the left, math on the right. And you'll see our different subgroups of students who are performing very well and closing some of those gaps that we anticipate. We still see gaps. Those are areas of focus for us.
Can you
Mhm.
just explain that a little bit more? So when I look at the top on the left graph and I see the red,
Mhm.
what is that telling me?
So that is showing on the left side is our English language arts. That's showing our white non-Hispanic students have grown. Let me look at my in front of me here. They have grown. They're showing an 84.9% progress rate on the English language arts. The goal is 86%. So each color represents a different subgroup.
Okay. So go down to the black.
Okay.
What group is that?
That
And
would
where's-
be. Sorry, mine's just a tad bit different on my printout than
It's
what's
on there too. So if you go under the screen that looks like this with the overall rating.
Yeah.
Mr. Nail, are you referring to the very bottom line that says 2.1 next to it?
No.
It's like a dark blue line.
I think like the olive green one.
The
Third one down.
third one.
Third one down. That would be all students as a whole. You look at all of our students taking the English language arts test. That would be all of our students.
And what is that saying to me?
That's showing that we're not quite closing the gap. So what that means is our
Okay.
students are not like they might be performing in, let's just say, fourth grade, a little below grade level, and then they get to fifth grade, and we would hope that they would have met that grade level average or that expectation. They might be a tad bit below that.
Okay. Yeah, I just looking at the numbers and the graph, I wasn't able to put it in my head as to what did those numbers mean to me. So that is telling me that that group is not catching up to where they should be. So we've got several categories that are not quite where they should be,
Mhm.
but we've got a couple groups that are accelerating.
We would expect for any of the subgroups to make 1 year gain in that one school year. And so we are always looking at where they started and then where they look, what they look like the next year.
Okay.
So as a cohort, as that group. And then we can look in all of these different subgroups. Even the all student is considered a subgroup. It's very wide. But then we can compare between that all student and our Hispanic students, or all student and our low SES, economically disadvantaged students, and be able to have that built-in comparison within that data.
I'm good.
Okay.
I just needed to
Yep.
have a basic.
It's a different type of graph, so you're right. It does, and because then you get the whiskers that go into both sides. It goes left on or right on a positive sense and left on the negative sense, not meeting that. So there's a lot of different pieces there.
Yeah. Because when I look at it, it was telling me that we're not performing well in 5 categories,
Mm-hmm.
and we're okay in 2. So
That would be
speaks-
correct in language arts. Yep.
And you and your team are figuring out how to work toward getting everybody on the right side.
Absolutely. And because then even as we dig into this data, we can then look at who the individuals are. So what students make up the student with disability subgroup? Who are they? What grade level are they at? What home building are they at? What strengths and weaknesses, challenges? How do we attack that? What's that? So a lot of conversations on a lot of levels.
Basically, who are the people that are looking at to that degree?
Abby, you want to talk a little bit about TBT, BLT?
Yeah, so we have TBTs, BLTs, like Mrs. Hurt said. So teacher-based teams, that would be our teachers looking at their data, looking at their students, pulling their student performance, looking at their assessments and how are they truly assessing those standards that we're teaching. And then they collect data and they might try different methods, and then they keep records of that. And then our billing leadership team, the BLT, they take a look at that, and then they kind of have a little bit higher view of that, and look at exactly where teachers are going, offering guidance to them because that's one thing I think that our teachers do a really great job is looking at the data. Now, what are we going to do with that data? And that BLT kind of helps guide them towards that. Although I sat in a TBT today, and just the conversation that was happening about RIMPs in 6th grade was, wonderful. And, some ideas that they had and some, plans that they were making in order to meet the needs of the students.
It may be a dumb question, but when do those groups meet?
It depends on the building and the grade level, but they could meet as much as weekly. For teacher-based teams, building leadership teams, I believe, are once a month, maybe more often, just kind of depending on what
They
they're
meet
looking
first
at.
thing in the morning or at the end of the day?
During a common planning time.
Okay.
So it varies throughout the district of what time of day they meet. Like 6th grade today was 9:05 or something. We met was their time.
I guess I think the general public just doesn't realize, I think, we think of a teacher sitting down and teaching the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. And I think sometimes we don't realize as a general public all the other pieces that the teachers are doing during the course of the day or in the evening. And, and I think, hopefully over the course of time, we as a kind of the layman will kind of figure that out and see what the teachers are doing, that it's a little bit more extensive. So that's all.
Sometimes that time frame really does adjust as well, based on which teachers are involved, or what staff, I should say, are involved in that TBT. If I have intervention specialists that are serving multiple grade levels, sometimes they can't make that common planning time that's built in to the teacher's day, and we're using that. So sometimes those meetings do end up trickling into after school or before school, or focused infant intervention tutor wants to be a part of that conversation and look at that data and the part of that plan as to what we're going to do with it. So teachers have been very creative, and
the
principals
purpose
have been
is to get better, but we're fighting that internal piece where you kind of know what you need to do versus what the state is putting down on you as standards. And it's okay to have some standards, but I think we've just been continuing to get as schools more and more of that type of requirement.
Thank you, Abby.
I'm
Keep
sure
us
Mr.
going.
Nail,
Yep.
Teachers would appreciate your comment on that. Thank you, because
Agreed.
there's a lot of extra time put in, but they all do it lovingly, that's for sure.
Yes.
Our next area is graduation. Again, it's broken up by subgroups. If you look at that little orange dot, is our goal, overall goal. Our graduation and rate right now is at 94.2% in a 4-year cohort. Those are kids who can finish within the 4 years. Sometimes our kids need a little extra time. Maybe they're a credit or 2 short, or they need a different pathway to graduate, and they need that 5th year. And that percentage is 95%. So 95% of our kids who stand for that 5th year do finish. And those both are up about, the 4-year percentage is up about 0.5%, and then our 5-year is actually up about 3.5%. And that's quite a few kids if you look at that percentage. So I think that's really something that we really strive. And this doesn't just start in high school. I mean, this starts in elementary, but it really starts to get focused on in middle school and then high school. And there's a lot of people doing a lot of great work to achieve this percentage. So we're going to keep working at it.
Well, I think it's worth to mention also, as a public school district, we have a duty to educate all that come to the door, which we definitely do willingly and gladly. But something I know we talked about at DLT, we talk about frequently, is we have to meet the kiddos where they're at. So when students seek other opportunities, whether it's in, from that freshman year on, to go to other school districts, and then come back, they don't always come back in great credit standing.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, going back to what Mr. Nally said, when we're talking about, it's not just, the teacher getting up in the front of the class. Now we have a student maybe that's, I don't know, age and stage wise, a junior, but they have freshman credits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gathering those groups of people to get a plan together for those students to hopefully within that 4-year period of time and not into that 5th year, graduate. And that is a challenge. That is a challenge. It's a challenge for the kiddos. I mean, I think people make the best decisions they can in the time that they do. They think, parents and kiddos, are just trying to do the right thing. So they look at other opportunities, and then when they come back, there's a lot of ground to cover, a lot of ground to make up. And I think our district does a really good job of covering that ground and getting kiddos who come back home graduated.
I appreciate that point. Just as a high school teacher at heart, whenever you have a student moving around, it always makes you a little nervous when you see enrollment. And you're right, it's not just coming to school, earning credits and taking a few tests and leaving. There's graduation pathways and seals you have to earn. And when students move around, sometimes the follow through on earning those isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And that always just makes you a little nervous. And you're right, I think that our staff at Ross is phenomenal when it comes to that. They really, think outside the box when needed, but hold the kids to the standard that they should be. And so they can show their true potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's a lot more than just when they walk across that, field and you guys hand the diploma, there's a lot of work that's involved. Yeah. Okay, so our graduation rate too, we're in the blue, similar districts green again, gray is the state, 4-year average is on the left. I think the 5-year is on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
by the way.
No, you're fine. Just shows where we're at compared to the districts in Ohio. Early literacy. So this is an area that we did drop. We went from 3 stars to 2 stars. If we would have been just a couple percentage points higher, about 68.5 or so, we were a tad bit above that. Last year on our grade card, we had 3 stars. So we're hanging in there. We're on the top end of 2 stars. Not that it's okay, but just letting you know that's in the projection of things where we're at. There are 3 separate areas that they look at for this, and that's proficiency in 3rd grade reading. That is our OSTs, 3rd grade OSTs, our promotion to 4th grade, and then improving K-3 literacy. So proficiency in 3rd grade reading is like I said, our Ohio State tests. A proficient score of 700 will allow for promotion to 4th grade, which is also that next one down. There's also the option in law that's been now, I think we're in our 3rd year of that, where parents are able to say, like, we're going to promote our child to 4th grade. We do some reading intervention with them, keep them, not like on our radar in a negative way, but just making sure that they're getting that extra reading instruction that they need. So those percentages have dropped a little bit. We went from about 60. 3rd grade proficiency went from about 66 to about 58.9. So we dropped there a little bit. And then promotion to 4th grade too. We did have some who stayed in 3rd grade this year. So that did count against us. We had just a few. We were at 100% the year past. This last year, we're at 97.9%. That improving K-3 literacy, that went from 33.7 to 31.7. We dropped 2%. And what that is, and feel free to chime in, others as well. This is sometimes a little difficult to explain, but this is looking at our kids who started using our iReady assessment that we give all of our K-3 students in the fall, looking to see if they started on track or off track. If they started on track and remained, that's kind of set aside. What they're looking for is our kiddos who started off track and moved to on track, and then also stayed on track the following school year. So in 2nd grade, let's say they started off track, they ended 2nd grade on track, and then they want them to start on track on 3rd grade. and some of our kids aren't starting there. So that did dip us a little below. We're looking at different, strategies. We're looking at our intervention. We're continuing our no new instruction at our K-5 buildings. They're looking at exactly, how they're dividing that up, group size, and then content as well. And they have approved curriculums, improved intervention programs that we're able to use, and our staff does, they do have access to that, and they are trained in utilizing them. So we're hoping.
What are the outside factors that kind of come into play with that? We talking because of like economic disadvantage affecting that? Are we talking about the home life?
I don't know if I feel comfortable answering that because I don't have any facts in front of me.
Okay.
I mean, it would be all just assumptions, and I don't think that's fair because, we have students from all homes who score well and don't score well. Sometimes that's a factor I would assume, but again, it would be an assumption. But like I said, I don't feel like I can't make a fair statement on behalf of the district for that. If anyone else says, but
I'll give an opinion, and I'll put my wife on the spot for this since she's a second grade teacher. So going from second grade to third grade, obviously those third grade teachers will come to the second grade teachers and say, Johnny isn't quite where you were saying he was at the end of the year. And I think what most of those teachers at that grade level, one thing they might say is, because they're young and it's a literacy thing and they're starting to read, that if they don't read during the summer, 3 months is a long time for an 8-year-old to not be reading when you're just getting that habit down. And I think some of it is practicing that, not putting blame anywhere, but they can tell kids that did something over the summer and read books or did something like that compared to kids that didn't. And at that age, once you're in high school, you're pretty good. But an 8-year-old, you're just getting into that reading and remembering and stuff. So I think some of it may be just, again, when they're not in school, it's really easy to be an 8-year-old and go run the neighborhood and not worry about math or reading or anything else. But especially
practice certainly can't hurt, right? It's certainly a plus.
Yeah, and especially reading. I mean, that's such a big thing for everything that we do. I know there's always that conversation with my wife and third grade teachers of, okay, what do we need to do to get this Johnny back on track then? Because he was reading at this level and now he's at this level. What, No,
I think that's a great example that you've given, in terms of that, especially that 3-month type period and not being involved in reading as a possible factor.
And I also think too, we stop teaching to read at a certain point, and you're not learning to read, you're reading to learn. And if our kids aren't really ready to be reading to learn, then they're not learning, right? So I think there's a fine line there of making sure that, I know not all teachers will agree with this, but that's some of the benefits of having RIMS going further up, is that they're still giving that reading instruction while they're still, reading to learn and learning to read as well. So there are some benefits to, looking at that, just depending on how each of our kiddos is developed.
We're seeing on the early literacy that it's basically at all 4 of our elementary schools. So strategically, are we having to look outside the box and figure out something else?
If you guys, board members, recall, we just approved and started this school year a new ELA curriculum for this level of student. Having been in a CQCC, our curriculum quality control meeting, very recently, and also the DLT, starting to hear some of the rigor, I might say, of this curriculum, the challenges, challenges in a good way, the challenges to the student and the reader, we're not. I think we're going to see good things to come in the future with this curriculum. I think this was a great step to take, and I'm not anybody's teacher. I'm not anybody's, you know what I mean, ELA teacher. I know it is a challenge for our teachers this school year, because it is, from what I'm hearing, it is very involved. It is a lot on the educator right now, as they are learning how to instruct. But even the teachers that I've spoken with who say, this is tough. The next sentence is, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. When we have, I wish I could remember the vocabulary word that one of our teachers, I mean, it was a candy bar word. It was a $5, it was a $5 word for the grade level. And that was one of the words that was in the story that was talked about, that they wanted the reader then to master and then have that vocabulary word. One of the things that I asked about in DLT, as far as literacy and state testing and things like that, was the, cultural competence of the test. Cultural competence goes beyond Black, white, Hispanic, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to give a corny example, but if I say Davenport, some of us are going to know what that means if a word like that is in the story. But some people reading that be like, what in the heck is a Davenport? And you have to use your context clues to figure that out. Or, But if I say couch, if I say sofa, if I say, something like that, then, so those kind of things, I wanted to look at, or I don't know if there's a pathway to see like how the cultural competency of the testing affects the tester.
Taking the test.
The person, the student, if you will. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see how this new curriculum that we have impacts our kiddos. Our kindergartners this year will be a real litmus test, if you will, when they get to third grade, to see how they fare. But it's not just the kindergartners, you know what I mean? We might see some emerging readers. Some of the feedback was that the stories were more, interesting and captivating, and, the imagery is good, and all of those things that our young readers need to comprehend and build vocabulary, and all these things that, these required for public school tests are, are looking at.
So this is the key part of our strategy.
This is the answer to your question, sir. I think so, in all honesty. I think so.
It is a key component.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Along with everything that Mrs. Abernathy said, the small groups, the intervention specialists, and the building, the TBTs, the ABC, BBDs, all that. You know what I mean? All of those things.
And the meaningful planning. And
yes.
And I feel like our teachers know, I shouldn't say I feel like, I know our teachers know their students better. One of our teachers at CQCC, I believe, talked about how one of her students couldn't picture in their head what they were reading. like they couldn't provide a visual, and our kids are visual, you know, so just her finding that out about one student changed some content and changed some strategies that she used in her lesson because of that. Like she hit home with her.
So all that to say, all of our teachers, I said this at DLT, and I'd like to say it publicly. All of our teachers who are tackling this this new curriculum, give it the go, but give yourself some grace as well. I mean, I know there are issues of timing and, you know, how long things take, and to make sure that they're getting content, you know, completed in the time allotted. This is all very new, and you guys are doing great work, and give yourselves grace as you go through.
Thank you for that. The next part is, this is just going to show, this is where we're struggling right here, is our students who remained off track compared to the ones that we moved on track. If they started on track, like I said, they're kind of set aside. So that's where our area of focus is going to be. The last area is college, career, workforce, and military readiness, which is a mouthful, like I said earlier.
Can I interrupt just one thing? Back on the early literacy.
Mhm.
Do you have any numbers, kind of like what the other graphs were showing, where like or similar districts, or what the state? The only reason I bring that up is because for the years that I've been on the school board, the third grade reading guarantee has been a thorn in my side, and I think it's a joke. And I just wonder what similar districts look like compared to us, because I know we hit low on that, but is everybody hitting low on that? I mean, because, you know, there for a while it was a third grade reading guarantee test, but it was only taken on the computer for third graders who don't work on a computer except play games. And it made no sense to me. So finally you can do it paper, but there's just, that one just blows my mind at how much they put so much emphasis on it, but it doesn't seem like the homework was done to make it fair. I don't mean to make it easy by any means, but I just wondered, we don't have any.
I'll be totally honest, what the comparable charts I gave you were from the Department of Education within the explanation, the grade card. But what I can do is I can look at those comparable districts and see where they're at compared to where we're at,
Okay.
and then present that.
It'd just be interesting to see, because we can, the other ones, you know, but it's funny that maybe the state doesn't provide that right up front either.
Yeah, we can look at creating something similar. But I would also say that ultimately the true test for this component is that third grade OST back in achievement, which is the slide that Abby had right at the beginning. And I'm pretty sure that we outranked both similar districts and state in the ELA. That's the achievement of how the students performed on the third grade test, which is ultimately our goal here with early literacy. Am I correct? Were we above?
Yep, you're right.
Thank you. That, you know, so we want to take our students who are not on track and make the attempt to get them there every year.
Right.
So we'll see. But we can certainly take a look at this and see where other districts are looking like similar districts to us, not just local districts, but.
And does it make a difference what programs you go with? Like the packages you guys picked, or we picked for the kids to have this year, all their new textbooks and programs going through. Now I know there's other programs that we could have picked, so that might be teaching them maybe slightly in a different way. I mean, I think that all makes a difference too, because they might be learning things at a different rate in a different way, and it's altering these. That's the first things I think of when I see these comparisons, I guess. I'm always curious to see how we are. Of course I want to see how we are. But to see comparisons, I feel like those comparisons can go several different ways, just like the geometry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, they're learning the geometry one way, this, and then this way, and then the next year it shifted. Is that happening with everybody? I mean, if it is, maybe they need to figure that out so it's not, and it's not affecting how things are. That's how my mind goes throughout all this.
Mhm.
I'm really on these charts. I'm looking at what our school has.
The advantage that we would have with ELA for continuity is that within the state of Ohio, all districts must be responsive to the science of reading
Right.
strategies, and all districts were mandated to choose a series from a list
Right.
that were all approved and met very similar components. And so that helps take that variable right off the table and maybe provide a little more validity to that ELA component that we can't say for other content areas. So I think that you bring up a good point there, Laura.
Yeah, I mean, ours, maybe the program that Fremont City Schools picked was a little bit harder than the next business that had their set of books out there for Clyde School or whatever. I'm just giving an example. You just never know. That's why, you know, I feel like every school district is in their own little ball game, put it that way.
And every component within the report card, and the report card as in and of itself is one piece of the puzzle.
Yep.
Right. So when we and we share that piece of information when we talk with building principals, even, you know, we're going to celebrate where we can, and we're going to plan to get better where we need to, but we're not going to beat ourselves up over data that we find at these components because it's one piece of the puzzle, and there's lots of pieces that we put together to help all of our students achieve.
I just went ahead and was a little indulgent here. So looking on here, imagine that. Looking on here is the comparison by tested grade for the proficiencies for third grade ELA. Our district is above similar districts and the state.
So even though we have gaps and we can see those and we can identify those, and we should, so that we continue to plan to move forward, that ultimate goal, we are finding some success and we are finding some achievement. Now, is it to the level that we would like? No, we can always continue to get better.
And I think that's where it is. We see where we're at, but it's time to
Go
up
get
the
it.
ante. Yeah,
We dig in and
in our own way with
Yep.
with the materials that we have.
right.
Yep.
I think you're right.
Sorry to go off on that rabbit trail.
I think it's good information for the public to know.
I agree.
So, last component here, college career workforce and military readiness, just measures our readiness of our kiddos when they graduate high school. So we were up about 9% this year. So they're looking at how many kids graduated compared to how many could have in that 4 year, and who are also showing readiness in one of these areas. I'm not going to read them all to you unless if you'd like me to. But what we do is we will measure this by our students and where they leave us. And then there's also a survey that we do for our kiddos about 1 year out to see where they're at. And that also goes into our percentage to say, like, okay, I said I was going to go to a 2-year college. Did I go to a 2-year college or not? So that data then is entered in as well. And then we see like the follow through of our students as well.
That data has weight, though,
Mm-hmm.
as I understand it. So I think while we're talking about how data lands, if you asked me my senior year what I was going to do and for what, and then what actually happened, those aren't the same. Some of that self-inflicted, but some of that not. You know what I mean? Like my goal for myself might not be realistic to what my family is able to support. Or I as an individual are able to, support. So that data point having weight is a little
12.5%.
Yeah, I mean that's and then following up with the kiddos, that's not always easy either. Like having good contact information for kiddos, them answering the phone. Like, listen, they don't want they are graduated from high school. And maybe some kids are like, yeah,
I believe
thank you, Mrs. Hurt, I'm not answering your phone call. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I believe that part of
In
it's
my rearview
probably
mirror. Right?
it just
I believe
is.
that part of it's probably pretty minor. What they're looking at is they want to make sure our kids are graduating ready, and then the ones that we are able to make contact. I don't think if too much will count against us if we're not able to make contact with a student. I mean, short of going on, knocking on their door or trying to drive to a college campus to find them, which is a little crazy. So I think this is the major thing that they're looking for, and then how well did they follow through with that? So that's kind of where my mind went after we spoke the other day about that. Like, well, and I used to do these surveys in the special education field. Every once in a while, you get, tasked with following up with students 1 year to check out their transition plan and the efficiency of it. So it's very comparable to this field. And I don't think there's a great deal of negativity towards us unless if we're actively not looking for the students or not trying to contact them. So there's a little reassurance there. But you're right, though. I mean, they get some kids when they're out, and that's okay. This is an area that we do well, and like I said, we grew almost 9 percentage points in this. We have 3 stars. I would anticipate that would continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. Any follow-up questions for Mrs. Abernathy?
Thank you, Abby.
Thanks for having me.
I think one thing, been on the board long enough, and the state report card always comes out every year, and there's always, it never fails, someone will be like, why aren't we higher on our state report card? Why are we only this many stars or whatever? And it's always good for the district, all of us, but also the community to understand. This goes back to that fair and balanced thing, that a regular public school district is held to these standards. Mm-hmm. When you look at any other kind of school, and there's umpteen million of them for the state of Ohio, there can be charter schools, there can be community schools, there can be non-chartered public schools, you name it. There's a whole list of what these other schools are. Private schools, whatever that is, their testing is different. Their meeting the 4-star, or their stars are different. The requirements for reaching a certain star level is different than a regular public school. Just to give an example, only because last year we looked into this with Vanguard because of a program we were looking at there. So like, we'll take Fremont example. Our graduation rate this on this report card is 93.9%. We got a 4-star rating. In the graduation thing on their list, a 4-star rating means that you're exceeding the expectation from the state. Now, I can tell you there is a group of schools that is not a public school. They received the same star rating. They exceeded expectation, and the graduation rate was 36%. So that's the disparity of what there can be out there. So for everyone to just look at the star rating on a report card for a school, keep in mind that if you want to compare Fremont to Clyde, or Fremont to Old Fort, or Lakota, or something like that, that's fine. To compare us to Townsend, Buckeye Community School, St. Joe, any other non-public regular school, that rating is going to be different, even though they may say it's the same. So, I mean, that can be a big difference. And that's where that level playing field comes into play when we talk about voucher system or whatever else. Hey, look, if we want to push money to wherever a parent wants to go, that's fine. But let's keep it all the same rules, same requirements, same everything. If this is what one school needs to do, then this is what everybody needs to do. Whether it's bring everybody down to a level or up to a level, whatever that is, if you're going to get a high school diploma in the state of Ohio, this is what the requirements should be, and this is the requirements on the school district. Right now, that's different. And that's my big issue with everything. And same with the report card. We got 4 stars just like you did. Yeah. 93.9% is a little different than 36%. So anyway, just information that we talk about every time when the wonderful state report card comes
Absolutely. It's a piece of the data puzzle. All right. Thank you very much, Abby. I appreciate you sharing good information this evening with everyone. Mr. Price, if you're okay, I'll continue.
Yep.
Fantastic. Item number 1, I would ask you to consider the approval of a donation this evening to our health and wellness program.
Can I get a motion to approve item 1, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lehman. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lehman,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom. Yes. Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you. Item number 2, I would ask that you consider the approval of a contract with North Central Ohio Educational Service Center. I'll just speak quickly for item number 2 and item number 3. They're very, very similar. Item number 2 is services for our hearing impaired students, and item number 3 will be for our visually impaired students. These are services that we need in the city, in the district, to meet the needs of individual students, and our partnering Educational Service Center, North Point Educational Service Center, does not offer those services. They do not have these staff members involved. So we're reaching back to our partner from North Central, and they are going to provide these services for us.
Can I get a motion to approve item 2, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nally. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lehman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Ms. Lehman,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom. Yes. Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you. Item number 3 then for the visually impaired contract.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve item 3, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bloom. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lewis. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom. Yes. Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Lehman,
Yes.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you. Item number 4. This is a little bit a unique situation. What we are asking for your approval here is that you would approve the following North Point employees to be authorized to discipline our students from their North Point program according to their North Point approved procedure, but they are Fremont City School students who may attend. So the list of individuals are North Point administrative staff who may be responsible at one of the North Point programs or sites. And for example, I'll give you Tracy Foose works very closely with our students. She is the North Point administrator at the School of Hope. And we have students there, Fremont City School students who attend at School of Hope. So we may have a time period where we need to have a North Point administrator in their school setting may have to provide a discipline to one of our students. So by approving this, we're just giving them that authorization.
Can I get a motion to approve item 4, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lehman. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion?
Is this typical?
Very.
Okay.
I had to look at that a little bit because we don't have that school setting. We don't have a similar setting with North Central. So this idea was a little bit new for me. I had to look into this a little bit more. Truly, the School of Hope is really the only area that we would overlap currently in this setting. But since School of Hope is completely ran by North Point Educational Service Center now, our students would fall into that.
Okay.
And then there would be communication.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Roll call, please.
Ms. Lyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you. We're going to stay here with some staff issues, or not issues, some items. Beginning with number 5, I have 2 resignations, and I'd really just pause there with Andre Dale Purcell. He will be seeking his retirement at the end of this school year. Mr. Purcell's hire date was 1987. He is leaving us with about 38 years of service, all to Fremont City Schools at a multitude of grade levels and building ranges. 38 years, you deserve a shout out. So we're very happy for him. Item number 6, we have begin some appointments, please. Starting there with Jen Leffler, including some substitutes, some home instruction tutors. Item number 7, we have continue on with those supplemental contracts. We have some people to add. Item number 8, special event workers, and brings us to item number 9, the approval of the following 5 individuals who are willing to do a little bit extra in the writing of some of our IEPs.
All right. So let's see. Can I get a motion to approve items 5? Sorry, I'm scrolling through here. 5 through 9, please.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nally. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Lehman,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Item number 10, I just simply pulled out there Miss Cassidy Price out of the list in number 9. So same individual, Cassidy would like to be one of our IEP writers and do some extra work.
Can I get a motion to approve item 10?
So moved.
Motion by Miss Lehman. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Miss Lewis. Any discussion? As her father, I'm okay for her doing some extra work. Nose to the grind. You better. Roll call, please.
Ms. Lehman,
Yeah.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Abstain, and the motion is approved.
Thank you. Item number 11, I would ask that you approve the idea here for these staff members who will be attending IEP meetings, 504 meetings, student planning meetings, with the additional $25 per hour, not to exceed the total there. These individuals are currently North Point staff hired who are working within our district, and we would like to recognize them in the same capacity that we recognize our Fremont City School teachers. This, again, is UC new. It's a change from what we've done in the past, only because of the procedural, the procedure to pay the individuals. Dealing with North Point Educational Service Center, they do it differently than North Central. So we've always done this. It's just that really that opportunity for procedural change. So that's what that is there. I would ask your approval for those individuals.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve item 11, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bloom. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nally. Any discussion?
So these individuals, are we basically writing them a check, or okay? So we're not going through the Educational Service Center.
Invoice back. I believe it's a time card.
I'm not sure on this one. I will check into it and let you know. Because depending on what it is, we float back and forth between the two, whether it's just something they'll add on to our contract that we pay throughout the year, or if it's something we'll handle internally.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Ms. Lehman,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Lastly, this evening, item number 12, just some status changes there.
Can I get a motion to approve item 12, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lewis. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Miss Lehman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Lehman,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, moving on to report of the treasurer.
Good evening. Trying to think what even is going on anymore. My brain is still trying to get back from my 5-hour time change. So right now I would be sleeping if I was still.
It's rough. We don't
It
feel
is.
bad for you.
So rough. Gosh, vacations are hard. So today, one of the big things going on in the financial world, the auditor state changed our account manual guide and how we code things. So right now we are going through and looking at what codes we need to change in our system, some titles. It's a lot of work. We're going to have to divide that up. A lot of it, so there was some that had to be done as of the end of, or starting July 1 of this fiscal year. Some of it you had to have done by the starting of next fiscal year. Just they tried to make it so it wasn't so such a large burden on treasurers. But so that's a big thing we're working on right now. Today I watched a webinar on it, on some tips and tricks to hopefully make it a little bit smoother and easier. So it's a fun numbers game to get to play. And they started adding letters in. So here comes algebra that I always thought I would never need to know letters mixing with numbers.
So our 8th graders did really well in Algebra 1. So maybe you need some help, you know.
I'll go get an 8th grader. So, and then also we have with the new state guidelines, we've got to get our forecast done. It used to be a 5-year forecast. Now it's a 3-year, 4. I don't know what the title is anymore, but the forecast I'll have for you at the next meeting because we have to have that approved by October 15th. I think they call it the final forecast. That might be the new fun title that we get to call it. So that's kind of what's going on in my world right now. I'm trying to get, now that we've kind of gotten the start of the school year kicked off, we can focus on some of those changes. And then which month? I don't even know what month we're in. August financials for this year. We're, 2 months in at this point. We did get our real estate taxes, so we got to see what our real look at what the collection was versus last year. We did see an increase, as we had already kind of known. That Nexus increase that you see in the tangible personal property line, I just want to highlight that some of that is due to that payment. Sorry, I'm reading over some notes at the same time. So now that the settlement was in January of last year, but now that they're paying at what the state told them they need to be paying at, there is an increase in that line. And that's what that's from. Is last year they weren't paying quite where they were supposed to be paying, and now they are. So we did see a little bit of an uptick in that tangible personal property line. Some other notable areas. Just being 2 months in, a lot of these lines will be, if you see any great deals of changes, it's really timing, and throughout the year we'll catch up. If we move to expenses, salaries, we're pretty flat, but if you know how the payroll works, new salaries and wages for most of our staff starts in September. So you wouldn't typically see any of the contract negotiated increases to hit except for admin staff before September 1. Admin starts 8/1, and some of our classified staff does start July 1, but a lot of our school staff doesn't come back on payroll until middle September. So a lot of those payroll items you won't see changes in until September, October, when the full pays start really hitting. The benefits increase is really just from our benefits that we increased from last year. Purchase services is up a little bit. Supplies is down quite a bit, and that really just has to do with the timing of when we bought some larger items last year versus this year. So it's not really a true reflection that we're spending less on supplies right now. It's just last year, I think we bought maybe some textbooks or something. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
In late, we might have, after July 1,
Yeah.
we might have shoved it forward.
Whereas the new curriculum this year we purchased previous to July.
Early.
Yeah.
Way
so
early.
way early. So that we could address some PD concerns that we were.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the large takeaways with the financials. Like I said, it's not really anything huge with it just being August, but we were fortunate enough to see some increases in our revenues this year or this month for the month of August, which is always happy in my books. So I think that's the only item I have tonight for approval, if we can get approval on that.
Can I get a motion to approve item 13, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nally. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lehman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nally,
Yes.
Ms. Lehman,
Yeah.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved. All right, moving on to board member communications. Don?
Just walking through the facility and being outside, and been over to the high school once for an activity. Just so neat to walk through the buildings and see the purple colors. They just stand out. It'd be nice to maybe have in the future more opportunities for the community, maybe open house or something in an evening when they can actually go through the high school or go through the middle school, just down the road, at some point. Cause I still think there's just so many people that have never been in the buildings to see, how they're laid out and the work that the teachers put into, decorating the rooms with the kids' activities and stuff. So just some food for thought there. And the other thing is, when we were talking about the strategies, I know everybody doesn't feel the same way, but again, I think it's just real exciting to hear when you start talking about strategies and trying to figure out the best way to teach our kids for the best outcome. And it's just so neat to kind of hear the discussion, that we had tonight about, the report card, and to realize all the professional people that are, and Abby, coming in there and, giving input to making our district better. Thank you, Abby. That's all I had.
Okay. Sarah?
Ditto. I think there's a lot of neat things happening in the district, and I don't want to lose sight of all of those things. I think the report card is promising. As a board member, I am not upset one bit by that report card. What's more exciting is to hear the buzz about what we're doing about all the things. So to everybody in the district, no matter who you are and what impact you have on the children every day, keep up the good work. Um, a few other things real quick. Noticed that Quinn Wolf earned first team all conference in golf, and Miss Brenna Parker earned second team all conference in golf. So those are two shout outs for two of our athletes. And I know we're winding down some of the fall sports or getting into that tournament, playoff kind of time for some of the sports. So keep up the good work. We had a really neat opportunity last week here at the high school with the Lady Giant Athletic Summit. I am so glad that I kind of school board member and mom crashed a portion of that event. I think there were a lot of Lady Giant athletes in attendance. There was also a 2-hour delay that day, and I think it had an impact on the number of athletes that attended, but I think a time was still had. We had the opportunity to have a former high school graduate, Leslie Hasselbach Adams, who she graduated a year ahead of me, just has done some amazing things post graduation, and to share her journey with these athletes in the way that she did it was phenomenal. It was inspiring. And for our Lady Giant athletes to look at her, who has taken divers to the Tokyo Olympics and to the Paris Olympics, to look at somebody like her, and she came with her Fremont Ross letter jacket, and every letter jacket she earned, you know what I mean? After that, but for our ladies to look at her and for her to tell them, I am no different than you. I came from, she said these same halls and then quickly retracted. She's, I didn't go to school in this building, but for them to hear that somebody just like them was able to, with hard work and perseverance, achieve at the level, that she is, but also talked about the little things that go with it. It's not just about, your state records or local records. It's about, appreciating your coaches. It's about the time you spend on a bus traveling to a meet or a match or a game or anything. Like, you value those moments and those people who pour into you. I think I was just as impacted by Leslie's I almost said performance. That's not at all what I mean. But her speech to the ladies. We also had the opportunity, along with Leslie, to have a lot of local females in different positions, former athletes, current, exercise gurus and things of that nature, to then do breakout sessions with the athletes where they got to learn about, balancing all the things on their plate or yoga or anything. And it just, the dinner time buzz that night was really good at home. And I hope it was the same for other athletes that attended. But all of that to say, we have some awesome people in our community that care about our kiddos, and that when given the opportunity, we'll pour into them. So kudos to Jason Smith and the crew that he had there that night for the orchestration and facilitation of that summit. I hope that's something that continues to happen annually. And my last plug for when we have opportunities like this, please can we have them recorded? The things that Leslie said would have been beneficial in any gamut of the district, whether it's other athletes, not just female athletes, male athletes in the classroom. Just phenomenal. And I'm sad that only a small piece of our student population was able to hear that. So if we can, when those opportunities, come about, if we can look at somehow trying to capture those in a way that we can, obviously with the permission of everybody, but
That's a good suggestion.
that we can share for days to come, that would be awesome. And that's it.
Laura?
Wow.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I came in here with not anything. I wasn't going to say anything, and that just never happens.
All right, I'm going to talk about something totally different than Sarah just brought up. I'm going to go back to the night of the Whitmer game at the stadium. That night, I brought 4 residents with us to the stadium for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know names, but I'm telling you what, from the minute I pulled that bus in the parking lot from the guys that were taking the money to the parking, letting me park right up front so I could drop the lift for the residents and I could leave if we needed to leave early, to coming in the gates. Everything went so smooth and everybody was so nice. And so everybody was so nice to the residents and just very accommodating. And, and then we move over to the booster booth and we got all their pictures with them and whatever else. And then the elevator, and again, I don't know everybody's names. I really don't know a lot of them. I just know faces.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I mean, that couldn't have went any smoother neither. And I'm running up and down, because you're loading people and they're going up and you're obviously meeting them at the top. But I just, I think I thanked everybody. I always try to thank everybody. And I think I thanked them again at the end of the night. But if not, thank you, whoever's watching, because that went so smooth. The residents loved the game. They loved the whole atmosphere. They talked about it for days. They were singing "Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round" the whole way back. We cruised state back to the building at 9. Well, no, we didn't get back to almost 10 o'clock.
I was going to say, you guys stayed though.
Yeah, we did. We stayed the whole game. And one of our girls, one of our ladies, her nephew, well, we'll say grandson, he actually played on the team, and she went out on the field afterwards while we started loading the bus, and we made sure she was last so she could have her family time. And I'm telling you, it was just such a good night. But they were just so happy, and I thought, man, if I could tell anybody thank you, just for being so accommodating, and you don't realize it until you're actually there in the middle of it, because what can be easily a stressful situation really isn't, after all, when the people around you are just so helping. So thank you. That's what I have to say.
Lori?
Mine's just gonna be short and sweet. Thank you, Abby, for the report and explaining the report card. It was very helpful. Sometimes you look at it and you're not really sure what that means. And I know that we'll keep going up. It's not gonna deter us. We'll just go from where we're at and move on and move up fast. Congratulations to all the sports and anybody that's, how it's all going. I know the football team's got a little bit of struggle, but they'll get it going. They'll be all right. And thank you for the people who are helping out with the tickets and the tutoring and all the extra stuff they do for the kids. And congratulations to Mr. Purcell. I think my kids had him in 6th grade at Krogan or somewhere around there. He was in Krogan. They were in those little
The
portables, those little trailer things. So, but yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks, Abby, for coming in and talking about the report card. The workshops, when we set that up, seems like quite a few years ago now. Always good information, just different pieces that we can stay up on, plus the community now that we live stream and everything. So a good way to get information out there. Last thing I want to do was give a shout out to our high school students. I had the privilege of going to talk to the two leadership classes today that Mrs. Gallagher teaches. And not that I did a great job, but when you walk around the high school, when class is in session or in between classes, everybody was happy and smiling. They were walking. It wasn't a zoo. So shout out to all the high school students, not just in the leadership classes, but just everybody walking through the hallway. It didn't matter what you were doing. There was no problems. I know sometimes we get to thinking that, it's a bunch of young kids in a building and it's crazy sometimes. And maybe it is. Today in the morning and in the afternoon, it wasn't. Everybody was really doing well. So I know the teachers are out there to kind of make sure everything goes well. I think they just have more conversations with each other because there really isn't anything to do, which is great for our students. Good job to them. So with that, I would like to make a motion to go into executive session under letter N as in Nancy. I'll make that motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Miss Lewis. Any discussion? The only thing I would say for the public is there will be no business taken after our executive session. As soon as we're out of executive session, we will adjourn a meeting. There isn't anything after that. So with that, roll call, please.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Lehman,
Yes.
Mr. Nally.
Yes.
Motion's approved. We are now in executive session.